Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're going to be unboxing this Pioneer AVH-120BT. In this video we're going to get this thing pulled apart to show you everything that it comes with, all the accessories, and we'll get it hooked up, powered up so you can see what it looks like. Let's get started. Now before we dive into the box, specifically what this unit features, it does have Bluetooth, built-in Bluetooth, both for music streaming and phone calls. It does have an aux and USB port as well. It says 50 watts by 4. Even though that's peak power, you can expect probably around 20 watts RMS per speaker. It has two pre-outs, RCA pre-outs for subwoofer output, 7-band equalizer, as well as being steering wheel control compatible. Now this would require some sort of adapter to ensure that the steering wheel controls in your vehicle will work with this radio. So without further ado, let's get this thing pulled apart. So out of the box we have our mounting hardware and wiring harness. Comes with a full-on manual. You don't actually have to download it. Warranty information as well. Alright, so looking here on the front of the radio, some of the hard buttons that we have here on the left hand side, we have a volume up and down button, and then right to the top of that actually is a little teeny hole. That's actually where your mic is built in. It has a mic on the front of the radio. Higher end models of this type of radio will actually include an external mic in the box. Being an entry level, they don't include an external mic and instead built one into the faceplate. Now to the right of the mic, we have our CD eject button for the CD DVD slot there at the top. Now underneath our volume button, we have our main source button. You can also hold it down to power down the unit. Below that you have your mute button, or if you hold that, it'll actually just shut the display off and not the radio as a whole. And then below that is actually what's kind of newer for these, since you don't have a USB extension or anything like that. They have now started to include the USB slot on the front of the radio instead of where it commonly was here in the back. So it's a little bit different on this generation. That's about it for hard buttons here on the top. Everything else are soft touch buttons built into the touchscreen itself. Standard doubled in size. Alright, so here on the back, starting on the left hand side, we have our main RCA input for a backup camera, whether you're retaining the factory or adding an aftermarket one. Then to the right of that, we have an aux input, it's 3.5mm jack. Now to the right of that input, we have RCA outputs. We have a switchable rear /slub RCA output 2-channel, as well as a dedicated front channel RCA output. Now we have a nice big aluminum heatsink and our main harness connector, which the included harness in the box will connect to, along with a little 10 amp fuse. Now to the right of that we have our, kind of looks like an aux jack, but it's called a wired remote input, or WR input. That's essentially here where your steering wheel control module that's applicable to your vehicle would plug into to allow those factory features to work on this aftermarket radio. And then finally we have our standard AM FM Motorola antenna style radio input. But that's about it here on the back of the radio. Again, very basic model, but still has some decent features. At this point of time, let's go ahead and put some power to this, get this thing booted up as if it were installed in a vehicle to show you some of the features within the menu itself. Okay, so we're booted up. Now you have different language options: English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Chinese. We'll go ahead and do our English. There is our basic radio setup. Now, some of the main options immediately from the home screen here, we have our AM FM radio. We have disc, which would illuminate if we had CD or DVD inserted within the disc drive. USB would be that USB here on the front of the radio. We got Bluetooth audio, which we connect any general Bluetooth audio device would work. To the right of that, we have our aux input. Again, it's that 3.5mm jack on the back of the radio, and a dedicated button just for your camera view. So the nice thing is, depending on how you wire your camera, outside of just being in reverse, you can actually wire a camera on accessories, so when you press that camera view, you can call upon the camera image anytime you want. You don't have to be in the reverse in the vehicle. So there's your main options across. We have our little gear icon on the top right hand corner. That would be our settings. Like I said, you have your little power button. You can power down the unit there, or you could do a source off, which is that button there as well. Bottom right hand corner, we have our little phone button. So as soon as we pair a Bluetooth device, your phone book will come up, your recent calls, your favorite calls, your bookmark contact, as well as your 10 key would actually come on up here so you can dial a phone number right from the radio. So let's go ahead and click into the AM FM here. Now you have 3 pages of 6 presets, so 18 presets for AM, FM 1, 2, and 3. You also have one for AM as well. So that's your basic radio. Now, when you're in a source, you can actually jump right to the EQ, which we'll show you here in a minute. After that, obviously, we'll have a CD illuminated if we had a disc within the unit itself. Same thing with the USB. Bluetooth audio, just kind of like we went into the phone Bluetooth. Once you actually set up a device, you'll be able to stream right from your phone or from a tablet or from any device that's Bluetooth capable. Now, camera view, like I said, if we had a camera hooked up here, it would pull the image up there. Now, if you only have your camera wired to turn on only when in reverse, this option really may not work for you, just because it would be a black screen considering the camera's not being powered on if not backing up. But if you wire your camera to accessory power, meaning when the radio's on or when the key or the engine is running and the camera is on, even though you're not quite using it, if you go ahead and hit that camera button, you can actually use that camera at other times other than being in reverse. So that's your main sources across the main screen here. We'll go into the gear icon quickly, cover our settings page. Now you can set your favorite settings. You have your system settings. You can go to AV source settings, turn certain settings on and off, especially like your Bluetooth. You can turn your aux on and off. So if you're not going to use aux or don't want it illuminated, you can actually turn it off. Camera settings allows you to set your camera input on and off. Now from the factory, this is set to on, which is kind of nice. Sometimes in previous generations, they were set off. Camera polarity, that's your trigger. So on the radio itself, if you want to trigger, if it's a negative trigger versus a positive trigger, most times it's going to be a positive trigger, so you'll keep it down as battery. But if it happens to be a negative trigger, meaning if your body control module or something within the vehicle has a negative trigger or it's grounded, when in reverse, that's where you would use that option. System language, which we saw at the beginning, restore settings, sets the unit back to factory as if it was right out of the box. Beep tone, we don't actually have a speaker hooked up, so we don't hear an audible beep at the moment, but you would if it was hooked up, and generally we just turn them off. If you need to calibrate the touch panel, you can do that there. You can do your dimmer settings, whether it's set to auto, which is essentially it detects when the headlights are on, so it'll dim it. You can set it to actual manual, meaning I'll just do it by hand or by a specific time. Finally, under picture adjust, you can adjust the brightness, contrast, color, hue, and dimmer. So that's everything within your basic settings. Let's go to our palette here, which is our theme. From this menu, you can adjust both the background here as well as the theme. Now for the background, you have your 2 selectable backgrounds. Now upgraded models, you can actually upload your own image, but it's not available in this basic model. You can set the background as off, and you can both set it for the AV as well as the home screen, so you can change them. As for the theme, you have 5 different themes between the colors there: blue, red, orange, green, and kind of a turquoise here. Notice it only changes the screen. Everything for your buttons on the left hand side, they are permanently blue. In this level of model, you cannot change the button color on the left hand side. Going down to our sound settings here. So going down our sound settings here, we have our 7-band equalizer. Now it's set to powerful. You have all your presets here, as well as you can do a custom 1 or 2 where you can manually adjust that there. Your pre-outs, this is where you would select the, and we'd have to do this when we initially boot up the unit, but either subwoofer or rear. So depending on the way you set up, if you want just 4 channels for interior speakers, you'd set this pre-out to rear. If you're running just a sub, we would keep that pre-out to subwoofer. We have our balance and fade, which you can adjust there as well. Source level adjuster, essentially here, if one level is louder than the other, meaning if your USB is a lot louder than your AM and FM, you can actually go in there and adjust those levels accordingly. Listening position, you could do front, all, left, or right, depending on where you primarily sit in the vehicle. Bass boost, if you want a little bit more dB within your music, you can actually add a little bit more bass. Just keep in mind though, it could add more distortion to your sound system, so use it sparingly, and especially especially with the loudness here. It gives it a little bit more power. However, a lot of the time it compromises sound quality and it may distort your speakers. Under your disc, it's where you set up your DVD or video signal setting. And then finally, your Bluetooth menu. Now your connection here, if we had a device connected, we'd be able to see that in our connection list. Auto connect allows you to do the device as soon as the radio powers up. Visibility, you want to keep that on so you can see it in your Bluetooth menu on your phone. So when you go paired to this phone, you go to your available Bluetooth devices. As long as visibility is on, it should show up as an available device on your mobile device. Pin code if needed, as well as device information. That's everything within the settings menu, as well as the quick sources. That's about it for this video. Like I said, very quick demo. We just kind of wanted to walk you through the unit itself. If you want to see this radio installed, we're actually be putting this in a Jeep Wrangler. So check that video on out. We'll have a link in the description as well as a card up above. Thanks again for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time, and we will see you in the next video.